welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. Hope you are having an amazing day today. Today is Tuesday, May 23rd. Today is National Taffy Day, National Lucky Penny Day, because everyone needs a lucky penny. I guess we're going to call Sean. I guess we're going to call your name Penny today. And it's also International Day to End Obstetric Fistula Day. This is a female thing. I'm not exactly sure what this is, but maybe the ladies can lead a little bit more insight onto this. But thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please make sure you check us out Monday through Friday over here. We're live every Monday through Friday on YouTube and audio only on Clubhouse. And you can find everywhere we live at on the internet right here on this fancy little QR code. Boom, right there. Yes. So without further ado, we're going to kick off today's show. Has he made it? Oh, yeah, there he is. That's right. It's the dope dad himself. He is in the building. That's right. The Quasimodo caretaker, the baby Yoda specialist. It is Rico Lamitte, the dope dad on the streets. What do you have to say?
Right,
and the crowd goes wild.
The Quasimodo caretaker, man. I like that, dude. You've been working on your shit. I like that, Jason. So I have a international headline today coming out of Spain. So police in the country say that they'll be donating to a food bank for distribution to Ukrainian soldiers 6,000 kilograms of premium Colombian coffee that was previously used to conceal the scent of cannabis seized in a recent cross-border smuggling raid. The Spanish National Police announced Banco de Alimentos del Segura, a food bank in Murcia City, will be leading distribution efforts for the high-end foodstuff seized and allegedly separated from 137 kilograms of illegally transported cannabis. President of Banco de Alimentos del Segura, Jose Garcia Galvis Marin, made the announcement that local needy families will be getting first dibs while the remaining portion will be sent to Ukraine, where he says, for the soldiers who are fighting against Russian invaders, it could be a very valuable product. This coffee is great for us. It's a premium product. We normally deliver basic foodstuffs, but coffee, because of its price, does not usually fall into that category. The seized coffee is tied to an international bus that left 6 people in custody, where Spanish police worked in collaboration with the British police, yet the investigation remains open. Wouldn't said coffee be still considered evidence? Senior Police Chief Ignacio Del Olmo says that the weed was vacuum packed and would have fetched a market price around 2 million euros or $2.1 million US at current exchange rates. And he seemed pretty stoked about the come up. In order not to lose the coffee, which is of excellent quality, we thought that the best option was to use the food bank so that it could reach the people who need it most. While this might seem like a feel-good story on the surface, local cops protecting their citizens from dirty smugglers and actually feeding the poor with it, I think there's a bit more to unpack here than a few kilos of Primo Colombiano coffee beans. 6 months ago, I reported on a story about the same Spanish police force seizing what they called the biggest international bust ever, 32 tons of pre-packed cannabis with a street value of at least 64 million euros. They raided a series of farms and production plants across the nation in an operation called Gardens, arresting 9 men and 11 women between the ages of 20 and 59. The alleged smugglers said that the cannabis was en route to Ukraine and was meant as aid for the soldiers. Very interesting. Something smells funny here, and Colombian coffee ain't gonna do the trick. Sounds a lot like the stories told by DEA agents turned international drug smugglers after giving up fighting a global war on drugs they say was impossible for anyone but capitalism to win. Y'all may or may not remember the name Jose Irizarry, the so-called most corrupt agent in U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration history, who said that he became another man while conspiring with Colombian cartels to build a lavish lifestyle of expensive sports cars, Tiffany jewels, and paramours around the world. He says that after photo op-driven missions to please American and mainstream global medias, he and his cartel cronies would get in good with the needy locals, and by handing out fruit and vegetables seized from these drug busts for free, just to turn around and sell the drugs that came packaged in them to the same people, turning locals into addicts and expanding the cartel's reach. Now, I'm not saying that the Spanish National Police are out here robbing drug dealers just to take over their routes and clientele, but I'm also not going to say that they are not. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about this one? I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street. I'm just trying to follow the money.
I think it makes for a very interesting cup of coffee in the morning.
Well, if you want to follow the money, all money ends up in Ukraine because we just keep on giving them money.
I think it is awesome that we're giving caffeine uppers to soldiers in Ukraine, and I think it's awesome that it came from cannabis.
How do we know the Russians just aren't going to intercept this package and just seize it?
You know what? They all need it.
They all need coffee.
They all need.
They all need to pick me up.
I did not drink coffee until I was in the military, and those MRE packages, you get coffee, and you would down them because you'd be on guard duty. If you fell asleep, it was big trouble. So I think it's awesome. We have a Ukraine chapter that's launched, by the way. So lots of news coming from there. We got a lot of Ukrainian soldiers out there wanting cannabis, and I think over time it will get there.
I hear weed is very, very prevalent out there from some of the insiders I've spoken to.
Yeah, we talked to some insiders, me and Jason. So Sean, like on this one, the story that I was alluding to, like 64 tons from people from alleged smugglers from Morocco, from Spain, from the UK, and a couple other countries. They said that they were trying to get the soldiers cannabis, and they said that they had been using the route multiple times to ship all of this stuff out there to the soldiers and to the people through Spain. So I think it's very, very, very peculiar that the same police force that hemmed them up is now interfering again, and they're said that they're going to feed the people first that are local, and then they're going to get the leftovers to Ukraine. So I think there's like a lot more to this story, and it could be make for a good movie later on.
Having been on the front lines and stuff like that, and seeing what got into the news, it rarely was accurate.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot more to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're putting something more back into these coffee beans, bro, before those things are getting shipped to Ukraine. I'm going to tell you that. Right?
I have a question about that. So, did they say that it's just coffee that they're shipping? Because aren't the people in Ukraine that are in the middle of the war, aren't they like hungry? Don't they have like?
Yeah, that's what they say. They're just shipping off the coffee, and the investigation. The coffee was seized, and they said that they took the weed out of the coffee. But the investigation is still ongoing.
There may be weed in the coffee then.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like this isn't that evidence?
That would be considered evidence, yes. in a real investigation, yeah.
Just get them some coffee.
This is some fishy
what
shit.
are they going to do with all the coffee? Give it to them. Who cares? What's it going to do? Just sit in a warehouse and go bad?
Yeah, exactly.
Finish the investigation.
What? I don't
Yeah,
understand what major caper conspiracy you're reading into this.
There's a major conspiracy.
Have you read any unclassified documents in the U.S.? 80% of these quote unquote breaking news stories are retracted because of some kind of corruption or some kind of collusion behind the scenes. And this is
This goes in my don't care file. Don't care. Next.
Got to care.
It's only costing us hundreds of billions of dollars, but we don't give a shit. No worries.
Right. Yeah. Right.
I care about Ukraine. I don't care about this stupid coffee store.
And why do you care about?
Why do you care about Ukraine?
Yes,
because your bestie's best friend Putin is not one to be messed with, and I think we need to shut the man down. So I have no problem, blowing the shit out of Russia every now and then.
I agree with Gretchen.
Oh, stop it. Stop
Oh, stop it. You and Trump
Gretchen.
can hang out together and get your golden showers from your pals in Russia. But that's just ridiculous.
On the debunked dossier there, and I hate to take Trump's side on absolutely anything, but where's this money going to? Like, we have hundreds of billions of dollars going over there, like unchecked.
No, there's no track and trace. There's no metric on there on this money.
Listen.
There's no
track and trace,
tags.
no tags.
Yeah,
There's
there's
no
no
tags on that
tags on this money and how it's being spent.
I want RFIDs on all my dollar bills. Oh wait,
my
they already are.
My coffee beans too.
You should have had those RFID tags on all the cash in Iraq and Afghanistan. So
We should have. You're 100% right. I agree with that part too.
Yep.
we're not dealing in reality.
I am dealing in reality. Should have had RFID tags and all that money shipped to Iran too.
Now that we are officially in the information age, like, we should be asking these questions.
We should.
Where's that money going?
Yep.
If America is broke, we can't pay our own bills.
The only reason America
But knowing is only half the battle, because once we know, we have to actually do something about it, which we cannot seem to do in this country. We cannot seem to actually fight in the same direction.
But I'm with Rico. We're about to hit the debt ceiling, and which means the country's running out of money, but we send in billions and millions of dollars to Ukraine.
But that's twofold. That's twofold. The current debt, though, is paid in US dollars. So all these countries have to gain US dollars to pay the debt in dollars. That's changing, but they're also influencing that influx of money and that cash into the world through that method.
Let's keep it rolling here. We don't want to get into the Ukraine debate here. I'm just saying, we just need to follow the money and make sure our dollars are accounted for and they're not being stuffed inside coffee beans on their way over there. So
we're gonna go to commercial. We're gonna be right back. Oh yeah, you know what time it is. That's right, it's Tuesday over here at Green Street, and we got Smoky Vanilla with us in the building. So that's right, it is time to stretch and smoke. We just got done smoking. Now we're gonna stretch it out, and then we're gonna smoke again.
Let's go. I'm Smoky Vanilla with my background in kinesiology and bodywork massage and assisted stretching. You gotta come check it out, baby. Check me out on IG at Smoky Vanilla 1 Stretch and Smoke, Twitter Smoky Vanilla, Social Club Stretch and Smoke. We're also on Sports Recovery by Dan and Jam.
If you want to feel as good as I look, then make sure that you get a stretch and smoke in with Smoky Vanilla. Yeet! Oh man, I'm so impressed. Gretchen did a yee. Oh man, maybe one day she'll actually say it instead of just typing it.
Maybe. So up next, it's the industry's longest continuously operating retailer and smoker of the best weed in the world. Coming to the stage next, the undying lover of all things Donald J. Trump is Jason Beck.
Oh yeah. Good morning, Rico. Hope everyone's having a great day. It's Tuesday, and I have some amazing news out of UCLA. It's a very short little bit of news, but I think it's very, very helpful because the headline is, smoking cannabis doesn't carry the same risks as tobacco, and this was found in a UCLA study. A new study from researchers at the University of California, Los Angeles found some good news for cannabis smokers. One of the major risks associated with tobacco smoke isn't connected with marijuana. The study, Impact of Marijuana Smoking on COPD Progression in a cohort of middle-aged and older persons, was published in the journal Chronic Obstructive Pulmonary Diseases this month. The researchers compared groups of people who currently used or have never smoked marijuana as part of the longitudinal research. Many of the subjects were studied for more than 4 years, and neither former nor current marijuana smoking of any lifetime amount was associated with evidence of COPD progression or its development, the study said. Cannabis advocates, including the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, aka NORML, celebrated the findings, noting that they are, in quotes, are consistent with those of prior studies concluding that cannabis inhalation, even long-term, is not positively associated with COPD, lung cancer, or irreversible airway damage. In an additional quote, they should be reassuring to they should be reassuring to cannabis consumers and to health professionals alike, and they should help to guide future policies with respect to crafting of evidence-based public health messages and associated regulations. NORML's Deputy Director Paul Armentano said in a statement, and I totally agree with Mr. Paul Armentano, but I'll tell you what, rationale is probably not going to end up being reality because people love to crucify the smokers at the hands of all the people that just want to breathe in polluted filled air from all these cars and everything else. But nonetheless, I want to digress. I want to hear what y'all have to think. I'm here to celebrate that cannabis doesn't cause COPD, and I want to see what y'all have to say. And this is Jason Beck for High at 9 News. What do y'all think?
I think it's certainly great news for all of us. That's for sure.
Right? Yeah,
Definitely
exactly.
good news for me, that it doesn't cause that. I've also read a few articles that say that cannabis actually helps repair the damage that cigarettes cause to the lungs as well. So
yes, I have. I have read some similar studies in regards to that, but I'm not sure how many of them were actually published.
Right.
I don't know if I would go that far. Whenever I've spoken to medical professionals, they say inhaling anything into your lungs is not a good idea.
Well, that's because they were trained to believe that.
That's right.
Okay, fine, Jason Beck.
Bad
However,
marketing.
I'll go with the people who actually went to medical school for their opinion.
I went to medical school. I just didn't graduate.
That's
Okay.
very.
The point when it comes to this, I think this also adds it adds to the argument for that cannabis is good for the cessation of smoking. I mean, if you go over to Europe, they ask people to vape. They will pay you to vape, insurance companies, to help get you off of tobacco and to get people off of smoking. So I think this country needs to take a different perspective when they're looking at fighting people's addiction to tobacco, and look at what Europe's doing. And this just proves Europe might be right.
You know what's interesting about this is American Indian or indigenous population in North America has known that tobacco smoke is inhaling is not a good thing forever. Yet our medical system's just figuring this out. Cannabis is inhaled and actual tobacco smoke is not in most American Indian culture. And so it's interesting how they've known for eons what we're just figuring out.
I have to agree with Gretchen. The research that I've looked at shows that inhaling the smoke of anything that you burn has toxic effects on the body. But I also know that these medical doctors, they're being taught in medical schools today, don't even learn about the endocannabinoid system. So a lot of what they say, I can't necessarily trust unless there's somebody who has studied the endocannabinoid system and understands what cannabis actually does to the body and in the body. But I find this fascinating. I think it's about time that some white papers come out about this type of research. And I'm looking forward to seeing what exactly vaporizing does to the body and to the lungs. I don't think there's enough research on that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing kind of what comes out of more research in this area. And then the other thing that we have to consider is when they're doing this type of research, when they're saying that smoking cannabis is less harmful than smoking tobacco, are they also considering that people that smoke cannabis mostly smoke it in things that, in tobacco and other
I don't think that's most.
And whatnot? I haven't seen any research that shows that they're just smoking cannabis out of a glass or just smoking tobacco out of a glass. We know how harmful and full of chemicals cigarettes are. But when we talk about like whole tobacco or whole cannabis, what is the research actually? What is that research study based on?
Jason, does it say who conducted the study?
UCLA.
Deeper than more than does it say which doctor?
No, it does not mention the doctor's name. But I wonder.
Huh?
I'm sure it was paid with tax dollars. But I wonder how much of this actually going to change health codes in different municipalities where people are living with the inability to consume their medicine in their homes because of smoke-free building etiquette. And this needs to be totally reversed, because this is showing the exact opposite, that cannabis is not a carcinogen in that way, and therefore it should not be treated as smoke in regards to the Clean Air Act.
All right, so let me try and understand this study. You're saying it doesn't lead to COPD, but
Correct.
does it not lead to other issues like lung cancer?
Nope.
Why not?
Show me where it does. Show me a study that proves that.
I'm just saying that the study only spoke about that one thing.
I understand.
So to immediately jump to the conclusion, which you love to do, that this means
That's because I've read
smoking
other
is good for everybody.
I've read other studies that show that cannabis does not cause lung cancer. I've read other studies that involve that. So that's how I've came to this conclusion, Gretchen.
I'm just interested. Please send me those studies to show. I would love to read them. Thank you for the enlightening, Jason Beck. I would love the science behind it.
I love to enlighten.
Because you know what we love here in DC? We love facts.
Yeah,
facts.
I love
facts. What? Ooh, in Washington D.C.
Give me the facts.
Gretchen, some of you love facts, not all of you.
Ooh, that's right. The Democrats live in fantasy.
It's everybody on both sides. I'm not claiming one or the other. I'm just saying that not everybody in Washington, D.C. loves the facts. I'm grateful that Gretchen, my friend, does, though. And that's what she's basing her conversation and topic on, are the facts.
I would love facts, because that's what we should be passing along to lawmakers. And
I agree.
Clearly, not enough of these studies are making it to them. All they see are the crazy studies that say cannabis makes people into schizophrenics or more suicidal. Those are the headlines they're reading. They're not reading this.
That's because our research is propagandized.
I know.
Yes,
we love the propaganda.
It is.
But let's try and...
Studies are not science.
Why can we not take propaganda, I'm sorry, I'm going to be a little out there, and use it to our advantage? And
that's what's happening. That's why you get conflicting. That's why you get conflicting scientific reports.
You got to put it out there.
Let me tell you why. There's a lot more. They have a lot more money than us. They have a lot more competency than us, and they are kicking our butt, plain and simple, in DC.
Well, the money is true.
The money is true. That's
so
right.
You got to. The change has to come to Washington. Washington doesn't change on its own, so you need to bring it to them. So you need to amass your hordes. I know Weed for Warriors has a number of members out there. Get them to post this all over their social media today. Post this and say, this matters to us.
Where's the money going to come from to do the studies, though?
Tag your lawmaker when you post. There's all sorts of ways to get to people.
Gretchen, do you see the comment from Mark? He says Dr. Donald Tashkin at UCLA showed years ago that cannabis smoking is safer than tobacco. Go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you, Mark, Mark, I appreciate that you have actual facts that you come to the show with, unlike Jason Beck.
I have facts. I appreciate. Remember the doctors.
I appreciate your knowledge.
Stop it.
Thank you, Mark.
I
love that our chat has more knowledge and facts.
Facts these days
than the
are
Correspondents.
as subjective as feelings, and
facts are anything that I say. That's
subjective.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh man, coming up next, that's right. It's our feisty little redheaded conservative that loves to tell pot loving libs all about themselves, dress her dogs in crazy erratic costumes, just like all of the wackadoodles.
Really? That's as good as you got?
That's I mean,
so bad.
It's a wackadoodle.
Give it up for the founder of Pen Strategies, Gretchen Gailey.
Thank you. I'm going to keep this medical train rolling. My headline is coming from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, my hometown. Pennsylvania House members introduce bill to shield medical marijuana patients from DUI charges. Legislation introduced in the State House on Thursday would protect medical marijuana patients from being charged with DUI simply because drug tests show the presence of THC in their systems. The legislation would not provide any safety net for marijuana users who are not enrolled in the state's medical marijuana program, and it would not protect drivers who are found to be impaired by marijuana while driving, whether they are medical marijuana patients or not. There are more than 425,000 people with active patient certifications allowing them to use medical marijuana in Pennsylvania. The issue is festering even as some lawmakers push to expand eligibility for medical marijuana. While current law only allows those with specified qualifying conditions to use medical marijuana, Senator Mike Regan and Senator James Brewster announced plans earlier this year for legislation that would allow doctors to certify patients to use medical marijuana for any condition. It also comes as most of Pennsylvania's neighboring states have legalized adult recreational use of marijuana, and elected officials here debate whether to do the same. The issue of how to police marijuana use by drivers has proven to be a thorny one, since drug tests detect the presence of marijuana long after the individual has ceased to be impaired by the drug. Pennsylvania law allows police to charge drivers with DUI when marijuana use is detected, regardless of impairment. In 2016, the PA General Assembly voted to legalize medicinal use of cannabis. Sadly, the legislature failed to provide these patients the same privileges afforded to others who have legal prescriptions for a scheduled medication, according to co-sponsor Representative Chris Rabb. Medicinal cannabis patients regularly contact our offices concerned that state law makes it illegal for them to drive. Pennsylvania is one of only a few states with zero tolerance for controlled substances. 33 states, including those with no legal access to cannabis, require proof of actual impairment. Similar legislation was introduced last session but didn't move out of the Transportation Committee. Attempts to resolve the conflict between the DUI law and the medical marijuana law have also surfaced in the state Senate. The Senate Transportation Committee approved Senate Bill 167 last June, but the bill didn't get a vote in the full Senate before the end of the legislative session. During a Senate Transportation Committee meeting last September, representatives of the Pennsylvania State Police testified that the bill would not adversely impact their mission to keep the highways and byways of the Commonwealth free of impaired drivers. Said Senator Camara Bartola. He is the primary sponsor of Senate Bill 167. I think this is a good move for Pennsylvania. I like that. I think this will set up the state for a better DUI law when adult use does come into play. So I think this is a good first move by them. This is Gretchen for High at 9 News.
How can you like the fact that they could make a DUI arrest without showing any impairment? That's just
no, the DUI says that you have to have impairment for them to make a DUI arrest.
What's their definition of impairment?
Right.
Well, that's where you get murky. But they're saying if currently the state law in Pennsylvania is if you test positive, you're going to jail. There is zero tolerance in Pennsylvania. You will lose your driving privileges. So this is a step in the right direction.
That doesn't work for medical patients because cannabis stays in your system for 30 days. So
exactly. So that's what they're trying to rectify.
Right. I understand. We did the same thing in Nevada 2 years ago, and now there's legislation trying to reverse that DUI reform bill that we did get passed in 2021. And so my concern, and this is the concern in every state, there is no test. Unlike a blood alcohol test, unlike a roadside test for alcohol, there are no tests that determine impairment at the time of driving. Whether you smoked a blunt an hour ago or you ate an edible an hour ago, your eyes might not be red, but you might be high as a kite but there's no test that determines that you're unable to drive.
No, there is, Nicole. There is, Nicole. According to all the drug recognition experts across the country, if your tongue is green, then you have consumed.
That's bullshit. We all know that. My tongue has never been green.
All right, Jason's just speaking out of his ass.
He's just trying to be funny. But what I'm saying is,
drug recognition experts are trained to say that if you smoke cannabis, then it turns your tongue green. That's
I heard. I remember that. I remember that article. But we all know, all people who smoke weed know that that's bullshit. So exactly. What my concern is, my genuine concern, because now we're getting ready to legalize. We've already legalized consumption lounges in Nevada, and you have people that are going to be driving around even more, consuming more. And my concern is, how do you determine whether somebody is able? In a bar, they give you tips. As a bartender, they tell you what to look for to know that somebody's inebriated, what to look for to say they no longer need to be served.
Nicole, I do know that in some states, such as Colorado, they do have a special unit that does have a motor skills test. Now, you may say that it's a crappy test, it's worthless, whatever, but there are states that have a motor skills test that they consider to be what they would use for impairment when it comes to marijuana.
How deep is the research and the science behind those tests?
It's shallow deep. Right.
I live in Vegas, and the last thing we need to worry about is high drivers when we have raiders plowing into people parked at 105 miles an hour because they're lit off their butts on alcohol.
Sounds like you're a Raider hater.
You might be. That's okay. You're an honorary Bronco fan. It's all good.
I'm good. No one likes the Broncos either, bro.
My concern is that the same profiling will occur with drivers. That if you're driving while black, then all they have to do is say that you appear to be impaired. And the same profiling, the same concern goes on. I'm grateful. Thank you, Pennsylvania, for changing the law so that it does not. It's an overreach in saying that if you have it in your system, then you're guilty. Because we know how the plant works in our system and it stays in there for 30 days. So yes, you're right, Gretchen. It is an improvement. But I'm still concerned about the language of impairment, that they will not tolerate impairment at the time of driving. What exactly does that mean?
One way that people could protect themselves, if that is a concern, is that you become a medical patient. That will absolutely help there. Pennsylvania does offer chronic pain as one of its ailments that you can qualify for. I would start there. My brother is an attorney in Pennsylvania, and I would say the bulk of his clients, because of Pennsylvania's very strict laws, are DUIs. And it's pretty much like Jason says: shut up, don't do what they say, and you will get off.
I have a problem.
So I think we can easily get around this.
I have a problem with this though, Gretchen, because it is only addressing people that live in the state. Now, what if I was to come over and visit your mom in Pennsylvania because we were going to have a tea party and we were going to share some cannabis together?
Don't talk about my mom, Jason.
And
get my mom out of your mouth.
They have
Don't talk about Dr. Gailey, because she will come in and kick your little ass from here. Shinola.
Okay.
Anyway, and I don't know what point you're trying to make. Every state has their own damn laws when it comes to marijuana. You're out of your mind. Go away.
They have reciprocity.
No,
What's next?
No. Hold on, come on. My point is,
Pennsylvania does not have reciprocity.
They are not addressing the fact that other people from outside of the state could be patients as well, and there is no reciprocity involved in this. That's the problem.
Don't care. Not my problem. What are you Pennsylvania does not have reciprocity.
I've
looked into this.
They don't have medical reciprocity for medical patients from another state. You can't apply to get a temporary state license. And are you sure?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I'm going to follow up on that.
You do.
I think Jason, you might have a legal
Oklahoma
argument
has
down the
reciprocity.
Yeah, I think.
Well, you can do anything in Oklahoma. They don't seem to care.
I think it's going to be a challengeable part of this law in court.
Okay.
It's because
why don't you go there, break the law, and let's see what happens to you?
All right. As soon as your mom invites me over for tea, I'm coming over.
She is not inviting you over. Move along from my mama.
We're gonna go to a commercial. We're gonna be right back today.
Keeping up to date on the evolving policies of relevant state, local, and federal governments is key to success. When the future of your business is at stake, you need representation as dedicated as you are. With a maze of laws and regulations surrounding cannabis, hemp, and psychedelics, knowing where to begin can be a challenge. Good thing the law offices of Omar Figueroa features a skilled, highly focused team ready to guide you through it all. They're accepting new clients in California and New York. So make sure you check them out at info@omarfigueroa.com.
Oh, yeah. Whatever you're doing, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button right there down below. And also, too, if you really want us to pay attention to your chats, make them a super chat, because that is the easiest way for us to actually acknowledge your existence. Also, too, make sure you head over to our website, www.highat9news.com. Make sure you check out our merchandise and sign up for the newsletter. And when you do sign up for the newsletter, you will get a confirmation email in your inbox, or it may go to your spam or junk mail. So make sure you check for it there. The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
She is the National Community Program Director for M4MM and Power 88 Las Vegas's friendly neighborhood encyclopedia. Here to hit us with a little purple plant magic. Y'all know who it is, Nicole Buffong.
Thank you so much for that intro, Rico. Yeah, I know. So today my story comes from MSNBC. I think it was on that Yahoo Finance. How Black farmers are making inroads into the cannabis industry. Black farmers are looking to the budding cannabis industry in the U.S. to spur generational wealth in the Black community after decades of grappling with the hardships of being locked out of the agricultural industry and land ownership, while being on the receiving end of the detrimental effects of cannabis being classified as a drug. This is a plant that has been tied to the very fabric of not only the nation, but to Black America as a whole. Jason Brooks, who is co-owner of Green Toad Hemp Farm, Georgia's first Black-owned hemp farm, told Yahoo News, as a second-generation farmer, I'm so proud to be a part of growing this plant that so many of our people have been incarcerated behind. Now we get to do it in a legal way. Brooks' lineage in America, like many Black Americans in the U.S., dates back to the slavery era, during which people were brought from Africa to cultivate land for crops whose yield became the backbone of the U.S. economy. There was heavy discrimination against Black farmers, especially in the Bible Belt, where a lot of people that were sharecropping lost millions of hectares of land, Brooks said, whose grandfather was a sharecropper. They got deals that were predatory, and a good portion of the family that I have has lost all their farmland. In January 1865, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, Union General William Tecumseh Sherman signed Field Order 15, in which the U.S. agreed to provide 400,000 acres of southeastern U.S. land previously owned by members of the Confederacy to Black families. But after the land was returned to Confederate owners later that year, many Black farmers turned to sharecropping, renting shares of land largely from white landowners and plantations, giving them a hefty portion of the crop yield. There was heavy discrimination against Black farmers, especially in the Bible Belt. And that's where their deals were predatory, and a good portion of that family have lost all. The population of Black farm owners in operation in the U.S. has dwindled dramatically from nearly 1 million farmers in 1920 to currently representing less than 50,000. Black farmers have been subjected to a long history of discriminatory policies by entities like the Department of Agriculture. These include being disproportionately rejected for federal farm assistance and lending, which caused many Black farmers to forego land ownership and farm foreclosure. To this day, very few Black farmers get the resources and the knowledge that they need in order to go forward, Brooks explained. The U.S. has started to pay off loans for Black borrowers under the American Rescue Plan Act, answering to lawsuits that cite years of racial discrimination against Black farmers. Black farmers say cannabis legalization has created inroads for America to right the wrongs inflicted by the residual effect of slavery, Jim Crow era laws, the mass incarceration of Black people from the Reagan era, war on drugs, and their lockout in the agricultural industry. Marijuana is now legal in 22 states and Washington, D.C., and medical marijuana is legal in 38 states plus D.C. According to the Marijuana Business Fact Book, by 2024, legal cannabis sales will increase 181%. From 38 billion in 2019 to about 130 billion annually for the U.S. economy. But the Marijuana Business Daily reported in 2021 that 81% of cannabis business owners and founders were white, while Black people made up just 4.3%. Many Black families took advantage of this new opportunity to grow hemp as a legal crop. Brooks' father-in-law, Reginald Reese, founded the Green Toad Hemp Farm in Metter, Georgia in 2019. His venture began after trying to find opioid alternatives to deal with his chronic back pain. Unfortunately, Mr. Reese passed away last week, and we send condolences to their family. They are a part of the M4MM family. We've had them on and featured them on to talk about Green Road hemp, and we're sad to hear about his passing. The family now works about 30 acres of farmland to produce cannabis products. Brooks said that Green Toad Hemp Farm has also partnered with Georgia Southern University, which has a program for students to research the use of hemp for human use, while keeping the production of it eco-friendly. Brooks doesn't want consumers to fall in the pit of buying from Black-owned farms just because they are owned by Black farmers. The hope is that when people see the effort that we put into our products to make sure that they compete or even better than some of the products on the market today, will break down that wall where people will stop seeing us as just Black folks with farms and seeing us as Americans who have farms. And nothing breaks down a barrier quite like sharing a good blunt. I like what he said. Thank you so much to this article, for this article, and really shining a light on the plight of Black farmers in this country. I've heard many times that that Black farmers or Black people in this country can just pick themselves up by the bootstraps in order to get where they want. And they without considering all of the factors that white supremacy has affected Black families in this country for many of years. And that's what the 1619 Project does so well. And it's a shame to see that something that is fact-based, like the 1619 Project, that has receipts that can show records of why she told that story in the way that she did, is being shunned and made a part of this woke culture that is seen as evil and degenerative for our country. So this is Nicole Buffong reporting for High 9 News. I'd love to hear what my correspondents think about this story.
I think it's a fantastic story. Thank you for covering it as you did, the way that you did before Jason jumps into the 1619.
Stop it.
I'm just saying, before he jumps into that, is a great story, and thank you for covering it the way that you did, Nicole. 100%. And we need to be talking about the origins of hemp farming and cannabis farming in this nation, and your favorite slave owning president.
Are we really considering, seriously, hemp farming as cannabis farming when we talk about cannabis farming?
Say that one more time, Jason.
Are we really considering hemp farming when we're talking about cannabis farming? Are we calling hemp farming cannabis farming?
Is hemp cannabis, Jason?
Are we really?
Wait. So are you asking, Jason? Are we
I'm asking
determining whether or not we're talking about cannabis versus hemp? Because this story was about hemp, but like there are cannabis farmers, like in Florida, that were given medical licenses for cannabis versus hemp. And hemp, both. But we know that it's the same plan. We know that our governments don't look at it as the same plan.
That's my point. My point is that the government doesn't look at it the same thing. So then, and I understand it is and I say this all the time, it's the same definition on the Controlled Substances Act. It's all cannabis sativa L. So really, Marijuana Mitch really legalized cannabis when he just thinks he just legalized hemp. But I'm just wondering, from our perspective, are we really considering hemp farmers cannabis farmers?
Yes.
I pose this to all of you.
Yes, because cannabis and hemp are the same thing. We have to educate our legislators, even though they might not look at it as the same thing. We know.
Nicole, we lost your audio.
Yeah, Nicole.
There we go. I think that if we talk about cannabis and hemp as two different plants, then we are missing an opportunity to educate our legislators about what it really is.
Nicole, so just call them farmers then, and we'll say farmers a farmer is a farmer.
Well, they're cannabis farmers, but I guess what we have to, the reason that we have to make a distinction is because the law makes a distinction.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're trying to combat the law, then we need to actually incorporate all these under one umbrella and say,
agreed. But the law stipulates it as two different things. So when we are talking about cannabis farmers that get awarded medical cannabis licenses to grow, then that is different because it has to be in a state where that's allowed. And that's different than hemp farmers because there are more states that are allowing hemp farmers than cannabis farmers.
Are you saying because the hemp farmers had the first crack at the medical cannabis licenses or the adult use licenses in some of these states, such as like New York? I mean, is that a bad thing? I mean, here's the reality is like just perpetuating the existence of and this bifurcation of cannabis versus hemp is the actual problem. We should be fighting.
Hold on.
You're always going to have that problem because you're talking about two systemically different economies. One is under the Hemp Act and one's under the state-run Medical Marijuana Act. So they're two different, just systemically economies, and they're very different on how we license them. One's a very extreme limited licensing model, which I'm sorry, but social equity and the limited licensing model's an oxymoron. Hemp's very different. So
Sean, I agree with you, except for the fact that the hemp farmers are actually they're growing the hemp, and then the guys doing the manufacturing are making Delta 9 products out of the hemp. That's the problem.
Delta 9 and Delta 8 are
That's the issue.
Hold
on. There's one other issue. There's one other major issue is how you actually cultivate craft cannabis for a cannabis market as opposed to the mass production of hemp for whatever industrial purpose that you're choosing to use it for is two totally different types.
No, that's incorrect. There's guys doing hundreds of acres of cannabis production in places like Oklahoma, and it's cannabis. It's THC high varieties. The point being, though, the whole point I'm trying to make is there is this bifurcation of hemp versus cannabis, but these hemp guys and the processors are making Delta 9 products, which is making the cannabis processors' life a lot harder because these guys don't have any of the barriers of entry to do the same work we're doing to make the same molecules we're making.
Right. So it's unfair to you as a cannabis license holder. Let's acknowledge that. But let me tell you what it is doing in places like Texas. I was smoking like a chimney up and down in San Antonio and places throughout Texas because to them it's CBD, Delta 9. They can't differentiate, right? So you've liberated the whole country and allowed cannabis use and made it a lot less dangerous for a lot of people. And so there is a positive societal effect that's happened from Delta 9 and Delta 8. And a lot of veterans are buying it in places like Texas. They are. I didn't get arrested.
I know they are, but I would disagree that it's a safer alternative. The safest alternative is actually growing cannabis and distilling the Delta 9 from the cannabis instead of converting it from CBD.
Right, but couldn't that be seen as a very privileged viewpoint because you're a license holder?
No, not at all. And I actually no. What I would say is that when you look at what the chemicals are using in those conversions, you would even not smoke it.
Well, listen,
Sean.
I mean, the reality is most of these people are relegated. Most of these people are relegated to the illicit market, black market, whatever you want to call it to start with, right? So it's not healthy. Let's be honest. Our cannabis laws aren't healthy for 80% of the users.
Agreed.
They're relegated to the illicit market.
But back to the topic.
That's the problem.
Back to the topic of hemp farmers, whether we're distinguishing them as hemp or cannabis farmers is based on what state they're living in, to be quite frank. And then of course what they're using to grow when they grow the product that they're growing. What are they creating from that product? But my point is this article talks specifically about the lack of land and the lack of resources that are awarded to Black families that for the majority of their time in this country as slaves grew this crop, knew it intimately to the point where nobody else would be willing to do it. It was at one point in this country, it was called the N-word crop.
Nicole, what would be your answer to this? What would you do?
Say it again.
If you could write the rules, how would you fix that?
If I could write the rules, then I would make sure that a certain amount of Black landowners and farmers could apply and get a license that wouldn't have to pay for it. I would make sure that they would automatically get a license, and that would help them to be able to compete with these license owners that are paying $2-4 million for license.
Would there be any loans involved? Any grants? Anything like that?
No, you do a tax credit.
Land grants.
Tax credit. I'm good with tax credits.
Absolutely.
Tax credit.
Absolutely.
Do it.
Land grants.
That's what Amazon asked for. Tax credit.
Yep.
Ask for a tax credit, and then don't restrict the tax credit. Winner or endower. It's not winning. You got it. From how they use it, and that's the way to fix this.
We got we got to go to a commercial. We're going to be right.
Okay. Thanks, Sal.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
How's it going, guys? Saman Razani coming to you from Green Street here with Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast available on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify? Tune in now and check it out.
Oh, yeah. Coming up next, it's Mr. Saman Razani. He's the man that reminds women how to say hello again. He's a plant formulation specialist. Oh, yeah, that's right. It is Saman Razani.
Hello. Oh, so many good topics today to talk about. Listen, guys, I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties, so I'm going to have to flip to, I'm on my cell phone, power's out in my neighborhood. because Southern California Edison can't get their stuff together. But I'm gonna attempt to do the article. I'm sorry if there's video cut out or whatever, but my article today is coming out of Marijuana Moment, and it is a good article.
Damn.
That's what happens when you make fun of the power company.
Yep. Saman should have just stuck to talking about his article instead of telling everything that was going on in his day today.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Am I here?
Yeah, Saman, we're gonna. If you want to check out Saman, what's the title of your article? What's the headline?
Well, I'll tell you. I'll make a summary. Connecticut passed some rule through the Congress, or through their House. I'm sorry that they're gonna make new rules that they're gonna promulgate to reduce the interaction with police and with the incarcerated peoples, and they're going to start to hopefully get some people out of jail or out of prison that have been there that are convicted of cannabis cannabis felonies. So that's the gist of it. Connecticut's moving to pass through the Senate now. Their bill, I'm sorry, I can't see the article and communicate, but it is a step in the right direction, and it's a big deal. There's a lot of people that have been convicted of crimes with cannabis that should have never been convicted in the first place. Obviously, we are big proponents of getting people out of jail that have been accused or convicted of cannabis felonies or crimes. And recently we've had a chance to hang with one of the newly released folks from prison, Luke Scarmazzo. Big shout out to Luke Scarmazzo. He's been out of jail now for 107 days or something like that. I mean, it's just terrible when you think about how many years people have been actually making money from medical cannabis, and we still have these issues. I've been in this industry from the beginning of medical in Colorado, 2008, 2009, and just seeing where we're at today and seeing that, places like Pennsylvania are still trying to put you in jail if you're impaired. I mean, it's just very draconian. We need to switch it up. Everyone needs to get on the bandwagon. Everyone needs to help out and start to use their voices so that we can get these people out of prison. I apologize for not being able to read the article, but I know this is near and dear to a lot of our hearts and a lot of our people that are following us in their hearts. So I just wanted to shed some light on the good things the state of Connecticut is doing. Big shout out to everyone in Connecticut on the East Coast that's fighting these battles. Just keep fighting, because there's light at the end of the tunnel. This is Saman Razani reporting for High at 9.
I have a question for you, Saman, because I'm looking at the crimes that they are willing to let people out of jail for, and it looks like basically simple possession. I mean,
yeah.
Is this really making that much of a dent? Is this not another Joe Biden pardon?
Another Joe Biden pardon.
Look. I'm gonna take every win. I'm gonna take every win at this point that we can get. But at the same time, yeah, you're right, Gretchen. It's these are Mickey Mouse kind of changes, and it's
people actually do go to jail on a state level, right?
I mean, Connecticut has some pretty twisted rules. It's just the way that. Yeah, I mean, the way their society is kind of set up, it's a lot of the,
and it is one of the most backward states, because there's a bunch of people in Greenwich and New Canaan, and then it's old union labor, and it's bizarre state. And I don't think, to your point, I don't think we're going to get everyone on board. I mean, being across this country a lot, you still go to places in, the Alabama of the North, which is Pennsylvania, between, Pittsburgh and Philly, and it literally is Alabama. So I think it's like the Second Amendment. It's not the same everywhere. People are going to treat it differently. Yeah. And so, but yeah, Connecticut is a bizarre place.
No, you're definitely
any
right.
law that gets folks out of jail is a good law, right? These are folks that are in jail for the dumb.
Going to get out of jail from
nonsense. Because rules are not getting anyone out of jail. Just like cannabis legalization isn't legalizing cannabis for most people. We need to stop just supporting.
We need to stop the prison complex, the system that basically is trying to put us in jail for anything. There's 100 private prisons in California. They'll put you in jail for anything here. So just be careful.
Fill up the beds. Yeah, we gotta fill the bed.
But I'll take a win. I'll take a win for the cannabis advocates around the world and around 100%. The United States. Little wins, little steps, small steps.
We're running low on time. Let's keep it going here. Definitely agree with you 1,000,000% on that one, Saman. Free all the prisoners. Period.
Yes.
So up next,
freedom.
Yes, indeed. Up next, this dope granddaddy's the golden-voiced co-founder of the Smuggleverse, president and founder of Digipath Labs, and judging by his Tuesday attire, a firm believer that Jimmy Buckets and company gonna close things out tonight. Up next, It is Todd Denkin.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. And Jason, you didn't talk about it is Tuesday, May 23rd, the day that the Heat close out the mass holes up in Boston.
Let's go Heat and Nuggies, baby. Let's do it.
Hell yeah.
The Lakers.
So my story is from MJ Biz Daily, and marijuana advertisers face hurdles with Twitter's new ad policies. Twitter might have further eased its rules for cannabis advertising, but the changes don't seem to have made it any easier for marijuana businesses to take advantage of the social media's platform's wide reach. Regulatory tape, Twitter's unfamiliarity with the cannabis industry, and cost are among the continued stumbling blocks. For example, Twitter requires advertisers to be a Twitter Blue or verified organization subscriber, which adds a blue check mark to their accounts, but it costs $1,000 a month to get a blue check mark, an expense many smaller marijuana businesses can't afford, particularly when companies are struggling financially because of low wholesale and retail price and fierce competition from the illicit market. Nikki Stanley, director of marketing for multi-state operator Battle Green, whose retail brands are in Massachusetts and Ohio, said, "As a smaller company, we're very cognizant of our costs, and the cannabis market isn't what it used to be." The privately held social media platform opened the door to U.S. marijuana advertising in February, but cannabis companies reported mixed results as they started experimenting with marketing on Twitter. Alexa Alanelio, can't really say her name that well, Twitter's head of sales and partnerships, wrote in an April blog post announcing the latest changes, said, "We have gathered meaningful feedback from the cannabis industry, which we have taken into consideration to create even more opportunity. Under the newly revised rules, cannabis advertisers are allowed to promote branding and product-specific content. The ads can only feature products in their packaging, and the ads cannot include pricing, offer promotions or discounts, or promote giveaways, sweepstakes, or contests. In addition, Twitter is permitting ads in new marijuana markets, although its publicly posted policy for advertising drugs doesn't spell out those medical and recreational markets. Twitter is permitting medical cannabis ads targeting users in Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Puerto Rico, Rhode Island, South Dakota, and West Virginia. Adult use marijuana ads are also permitted in Missouri's new adult use market. At the same time, cannabis companies advertising on Twitter must sign an attestation form indicating they are licensed to do business in the state where the ads will appear, and they can only target customers 21 years of age and older in jurisdictions where they are licensed. The advantage of advertising on Twitter versus the ways cannabis companies have used to be able to reach their audience up until now is that they can talk about their specific products rather than educate consumers with broad brush strokes. You can create copy that resonates with the consumer and be very targeted with the message about what products go to market and what consumer profile. Hemp is still a stumbling block on Twitter, as CB Distillery, a Denver-based manufacturer of hemp-derived CBD, was the first CBD company to launch ads on Twitter. Company president and CEO Chase Terwilliger said, although the company sells its products in all 50 states, it succeeded in getting Twitter ads in only 20, even though hemp was legalized federally in the 2018 Farm Bill. Terwilliger said, the issue is that Twitter requires proof of licenses in each state a company wants to advertise in, but not all states, such as Oklahoma, require CBD companies to be licensed. Twitter is new to this, too. They're obviously going through a lot of changes, Terwilliger said. We have to walk them through the process. He suggests that companies want to try the platform, determine which states they want to start advertising in, ensure they have correct licenses and labels, and then contact Twitter. Although CB Distillery has yet to see a return on its investment, Terwilliger said the ads have led to sales. It's been more difficult for some other cannabis companies. Chicago-based PharmaCann, a multi-state operator that is one of the largest vertically integrated marijuana companies in the U.S., has been trying to advertise on Twitter for more than a month. The privately held company has just been adjusting to Twitter's regulations and restrictions by building new creative and defining new audiences in its network. PharmaCann couldn't use existing campaigns on Twitter, which delayed its launch on the platform. The company also had to figure out how to accurately track conversions. We wanted to be live for 420, said Brian Benavides, PharmaCann's director of digital marketing. We had to fill out forms and prove we had licenses in certain states and certain markets. But even for a large company such as PharmaCann, the $1,000 per month fee to get the blue check mark is off-putting. Benavides said, I haven't committed to that quite yet. I'm already spending lots of money. Why do I have to spend more just to get a blue check mark, he added. Before announcing it would allow marijuana ads on its platform, Twitter contacted Boulder, Colorado-based edibles maker Wana Brands. After reviewing the rules, Wana Chief Marketing Officer Joe Hodis said he determined that the social media company didn't understand the cannabis industry and how the pieces fit together. Hodis and his team suggested ways to rewrite the rules to make them less onerous, but Twitter refused to revise them. We are a cannabis company, so we have to sign all this additional stuff saying we are not responsible for anything, Hodis said. It's inconvenient, but it's not a deal killer. Hodis' first idea was to run specials on Wana products with specific dispensaries, but Twitter's rules prohibit it. He'd also like the ability to insert the company into conversations on the platform to start doing a dialogue with potential customers about conditions its products can address. He said, Twitter offers us access to folks who aren't even thinking of cannabis as a solution. I like what Twitter can potentially do for us, but if we're not allowed to hyper-locally target, it probably doesn't hold as much value for me. Other social media platforms, including Facebook, are starting to consider allowing cannabis ads, but they may be too late to the party if Twitter grabs a big portion of the market. What Hodis said was the advertising dollars will be spoken for by the time the other social networks get there. I'm Todd Denkin with High at Night News, and although it's a step in the right direction, it still seems a little prohibitive. What do you guys think about Twitter's advertising rules?
I think that it's hard to root for somebody like Elon Musk. As much as I respect his,
here comes Jason.
Freedom of free speech and all of these things, it's like it's how far is too far, and how much do you give people to where it is still one person determining who has a blue check, who has a right to be on the platform, who can say what. It's still one person making that decision.
Yeah.
Well,
when it comes
to the cannabis decisions, there's two people at Twitter that make the decisions.
Okay, no, my point is that Elon Musk is writing everybody's check, is signing everybody's check at the end of each month.
That's actually, they have a new CEO.
One man making that decision.
They have a new CEO now.
But I mean that could be argued.
Check he's also writing.
But Nicole, that's everything. That's literally everything.
Right. And so I'm it's hard for me to say, okay, get excited when he says, oh, I'm going to allow this to happen. It's still jaded.
The blue check mark. No, the blue check mark is if you pay, you get the blue check mark. The moment you stop playing, the blue check mark goes away. I think it's a very very simple concept. And the guy is just saying, hey, if you really want this, pay for it.
Pay for it. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. Like advertising in any regard is always pay to play. It's always who pays the most money gets the better placements. Gets
and
all
I
the better
agree.
stuff.
And I think, because I don't think there should be any restrictions on advertising. Like, I mean, besides placating to kids, like with tobacco products and alcohol products and things that are over 21 and over.
Yeah. What about the Google ads? What about the Google ads that started? Like, how are those doing? Did your article talk about that, Todd, at all? The competitive.
No, it didn't talk about Google. It was really only talking about the restrictions that Twitter is placing on, advertisers. Didn't mention Google at all. But
I think this is a good follow-up. We need to see what Google's doing because they're a bigger.
Yeah, it did say Facebook is looking to join the party and allow cannabis advertising as well, but they haven't figured out their rules quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, they better get their shit together on IG. I swear, they're. You can't do anything anime if you post.
IG is never
They
going to do
can't
anything
even
for
moderate anything
Yeah.
successfully. How can we have any hope this is actually going to work? I mean, have you seen the moderation of these things? Social media platforms? Give me a break.
Hey,
Sean,
Sean, why are you
always-
sitting in a hole? Looks like you're sitting in a hole.
He's over here with me
said
in
he was
Mar-a-Lago.
top. He said he was top at
He's
Mar-a-Lago.
getting ready. He's getting ready to have a hot show in a little bit, and we're going to turn up.
Oh man, what a great day!
Yes, yes. Gretchen, you want to run this outro?
And Bud Light sponsor. At 9 News.
Stop it.
Listen to me. I'm always right. Have a nice day.
Thank you all for joining us every Monday through Friday at High at 9 News at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big thank you to our audience sponsors for tuning in daily and listening to what is the ever-changing developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to all of our sponsors. We already aired your commercial, so thank you all so much for all that you do. Thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. And thank you to Cloud Media Partners, House of Fuego, The Vortex, and the 91 Club. And oh yeah, Zaza Simone Brown holding us down in Clubhouse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. It's America's #1 daily cannabis news show.
Go Heat.